Hello, I would like to explain a bit about the design of our poster. In this infographic e-flyer, I created the design in order to make it look like it is timeless, it is modern, but at the same time also informative and easy for the readers to see and grasp the information. The order of the information also follows through an orderly order. As you can see, the first one is why dishonest act and everyday corruption matters, and then moving on, the bigger font, which is the title, and then why it happens, and then moving on to impact of the society, and then solution. The color palette used for this design is also resembling the color that traffic lights are used, which is red, green, and yellow. That is all from me about our infographic e-flyer design concept.
Everyday corruption and why small dishonest acts matter. Corruption is frequently portrayed as a large-scale problem involving prominent politicians and vast sums of money. However, daily corruption, small and dishonest acts such as bribing a traffic officer, fabricating expense reports, or leveraging personal connections to gain unfair advantages play a substantial role in weakening societal confidence and justice. While these activities may appear insignificant, they all contribute to a culture of dishonesty, eroding institutions and normalizing immoral behavior. In this text, we look at how minor acts of corruption affect the government, corporation, and the people. It emphasizes the repercussions of everyday dishonesty, demonstrating why correcting these behaviors is critical for creating a transparent, equitable society. We as a group chose this topic, bribing traffic officers, because it directly impacts daily life and highlights how small acts of corruption can undermine trust in public institutions and law enforcement. Addressing this issue raises awareness about the importance of integrity in everyday interactions and help explore practical solutions to reduce corruption at the grassroots level.
I'm Vivien, and I'll be talking about who contributes to corruption and is affected by it. So firstly, we have public citizens, basically people in society. So the less privileged and also poorer individuals will suffer from corruption. This is because they will be unfairly targeted, and unlike people that are financially better off, they are unable to escape from a fine because only richer individuals are able to bribe their way out of it. Secondly, traffic officers. Because they take part in it and accept bribery, it actually fosters corruption within the police force and also reduces integrity and professionalism, which creates lack of trust within the police force. Next, we have drivers. Because they bribe police officer, it diminishes road safety, accountability, and increases accidents. This is because rather than being punished and fined for their illegal driving behavior, they find a way to escape from it. And lastly, government and law enforcement. Corruption will erode trust of people in government institutions. Besides that, it will actually waste the public funds necessary for infrastructure, health, and education for the people of a country, as well as undermining efficiency.
Hello, my name is Wafaa and Farhat, and today I'm going to be speaking about everyday corruption, specifically the topic of bribing traffic officials. Now, where might this usually happen? It can happen in traffic stops, so regular traffic stops where officers might accept or demand payments based on ignoring violations such as speeding, drunk driving, and expired license. It can also happen in license and registrations offices where officers might accept a bribe based on speeding up the process of a license or insurance, as well as getting around certain restrictions. It can also happen during checkpoints and roadblocks where officers could make up violations to demand payment in order to avoid fines, delays, or arrest threats. It can also happen in commercial transportation and logistics where drivers could bribe officers in order to avoid weigh-ins and inspections, and truck drivers may pay regular bribes to officers for protection efforts in order to pass by borders without getting inspection. It can also happen in high corrupt regions where there's a common culture of bribery and inadequate enforcement of the law.
Any stage of a project is susceptible to corruption. It may appear in minor routine acts of dishonesty as well as the highest level of government and major corporations. On their own, smaller offenses may not seem like serious crimes, but they can add and build up a corrupt culture. It occurs when authority power is being abused or moral principles are violated, usually for one's own benefit at the expense of others or the general welfare. Usually, a person committing corruption is doing it for the purpose of benefiting financially under the law. And in other cases, the person may have been coerced into taking part by extortion or any other forms of financial, economic, or physical coercion. Another case could be that the person is acting irrationally or carelessly, meaning they're not giving proper thought to their actions. It thrives in environments where institutions are weak, underfunded, and lack independence, which makes it easier for them to get away with it. In mundane scenarios, things like bribery and small favors, lying on a resume in the workplace, all constitute dishonesty and build a foundation for corruption.
Frustration with traffic leads to unethical bribing of officers due to weak enforcement, several penalties, and low risk of catching. Traffic officers often work long hours for low wages, making bribes a way to supplement income. Driver bribes to avoid fine for speeding, running red lights, or license violations. Officers might fabricate offenses or demand bribes during inspections of roadblocks. Bribery weakens law enforcement, leading to selective enforcement and increased traffic violations and accidents. Drivers who escape penalties may continue reckless driving. It erodes public trust and creates a culture of corruption. Economically, it costs the government money. Stricter laws and penalties are needed to tackle police corruption. Body cameras can deter bribery, but they don't address behavioral issues. Education, good values, and accountability are the most effective way to prevent corruption.
In daily life, traffic bribery is usually in the form of taking advantage of the interaction between police officers and drivers. Here are some scenarios to show how exactly it happens between the two. First one is where drivers offer bribes to avoid fines or penalties for violations such as speeding, running red lights, or driving without license. Second one would be where officers may falsely accuse of drivers' violation to extort money. Bribes may also be demanded to overlook issues during vehicle inspection to expedite process, or during checkpoints, officers may solicit bribes to allow driver to pass through without proper documentation or inspection.
Bribing traffic officers may seem convenient at the moment, but it damages the society in the long run. Here are some of the impacts that bribing traffic officers can lead to society. The acceptance of bribery instead of enforcing the law fairly will definitely weaken the law enforcement. It will also increase traffic violation and accidents because people who are speeding, reckless driving, they're not getting caught because they're doing bribery. And eventually, it will lead in distrust of the public towards the authorities. Not to mention, the act of accepting bribery and giving out bribery means that you are supporting the culture of corruption, and you're also doing the unequal treatment for the citizens because all citizens supposedly treated fairly. But if you're accepting bribery or doing bribery, meaning you're not treating your citizens equally.
As Tom has mentioned, stricter laws and penalties are needed if this corrupt issue is to be solved, as well as a deeper understanding and addressing of the root causes that led to such behaviors in the first place. One way to prevent police corruption would be to enforce the carrying of body cameras, as bribery often happens when the officer and offender are alone, as there is no one to hold either party accountable. With body cams, they are at risk of getting caught as it would be recorded. Ultimately though, this enforces obedience through pressure of surveillance and risk of getting caught, rather than a behavioral change within the corrupt officer and offender themselves, which should not be the main method used if the goal is to eliminate corruption. At the end of the day, corruption can only truly be avoided when both parties foster a sense of accountability. And overall, it can be best avoided through education, teaching people from a young age good values so that they stick with them and help them navigate through life with good virtues. Officers can also be trained to hold each other accountable and not let each other's crimes off with a slap on the wrist.